Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here, of course, with another recap for you. And this time we're going to start with the LOC Dynasty. It's becoming clear who are becoming the playoff teams. There's no doubt about it, but there's still a lot of tight races that are happening. As you can see, Swahino was the eighth seed, sitting at 4-4. Thing about Swahino, though, he's the third highest scoring team. So clearly he's going to be a tough guy to catch. But there's other teams at 4-4. Well, Memphis Devil Dogs right now on the outside looking in. But then a slew of 3-5 teams. There's five teams currently sitting at 3-5 who I guess technically still have a chance to make the playoffs, even though it's going to be hard done by. I think it's interesting, right? Because we saw the NBA betting scandal come out, and every game in the NFL, actually, none of them were close except for the Mangold game. So I don't know if they're linked together, but it also showed up in fantasy because there really wasn't a lot of close games in Dynasty this week at all, just like the real NFL. I will say this, looking at the lottery odds, sorry, Deuce, Sabatica, then myself, then Silver Bullets would have the most ballots. When you have a bunch of teams tied at 3-5 points, four takes over as the tiebreaker, which you can see I'm the second lowest scoring team. No More is still the highest scoring team. And, one thing I'll say about Dynasty, and this is something I remembered from the prior LOC Dynasty. I think it was Deuce Bombers, that was the clear-cut favorite team, it looked like, was winning every game in the regular season, kind of like No More. And, people make the trades with these teams to make that happen. But I'll be honest, it takes a big fizzle out of the league when you see a team as good as No More, right? I mean, the reality is, when you look at Dynasty now, where's the drama, right? So I appreciate what No More did, and any one of us would have done the same if you had that scenario to get Lamb, Chase, and Neighbors. But it does take the fizzle and excitement a little bit out of the league. I will say that. But for No More in this league, that's what the term is. It's dynasty, right? So he's obviously trying to create that dynasty and become the next Kansas City Chiefs. And he very well could be that team here in Dynasty. So we'll just have to wait and see. Of course, when we looking forward to next week, there's two games of the week that I'm going to put up there on the poll. The first one's Killer Sheep taking on No More. So if there's any hope in the American division for Killer Sheep, he's going to have to find a way against No More this week. Might not see No More in too many of the game of the week. So he gets a chance to be in one here. And then the other game of the week, clear cut, international division. Whoever wins this one takes over the divisional lead. Finito Clenji. That one should be a thriller. And I'm sure everyone will be watching that one in the international. All right, next up, so we get the tier three, folks. And again, looking at tier three, I remain undefeated. I had pretty much almost, a whole team on the bye. A lot of teams had, it was by Mageddon or something they called it this past week, which obviously was difficult for teams to navigate. Looking at the big games of the week here, of course, I played Hot Chuba Time Machine, so he couldn't find a way to get the victory. He'll fall to 6-2. It looks like that might give me the number one seed for the playoffs. We'll see. There's still some weeks to go here. The international division's still red hot. So look at the points for lead. It's throwbacks, right? So I was commenting earlier this week about, you want to be successful in this team, you got to follow what throwbacks is doing. And I got to give throwbacks a lot of credit. But you can see he's still 4-4. I mean, he passed me just now for the points for lead. So I give him all the credit in the world. And I do hope he does move up because he is doing all the right things, and that's what I want to see, right? So then you see My Wife is Hotter. He's there as well, third highest scoring team. So I said My Wife is Hotter is a team to look out for, and he definitely has been. Looking at the lowest scoring teams, two teams that I was very high on, Eat a Bag of Nicks and Battle Street Bears, they're just going to have to reset for next year. And this is where I'm going to bring up. So I love throwbacks saying, hey, he gave some credit to Ooh Spicy and New England Turncoats for losing with a full lineup. I was looking at some of those other lineups out there, and I saw some players you probably could add and dropped to set a full lineup. I'm with throwbacks there. Sometimes it just takes a little bit more time and effort. And this is where I'll just say, listen, there's no point in losing games. Okay, so you might think, oh, I'll finish last, I'll get number one. No, consolation playoffs is first overall. So you got to compete right till the end. So there's really no sense if you're trying to deliberately tank, which is a rule that you should not be able or not allowed to do in this league. So if I notice, there's opportunity there, I will have to start calling some people out. I know it was by Mageddon, so it's a bit tough, but if you're hanging on to a shitty DL, and there's someone to pick up, right? And you can dress a full lineup. I mean, do it, right? I'm not saying drop a good player. And a lot of great teams across all tiers this year have been saying, hey, I can't dress a full lineup. That's fine. I get it. Like in tier one, you can't dress a full lineup and buy Mageddon for a lot of teams. Okay. It's just the way it goes. It's too deep. But yeah, it's something I'll just throw out there. Remember, consolation is for first overall. So there's no point in losing a bunch of games. I mean, wouldn't you want first overall? There's some good games coming up here for games of the week, and I got three candidates. Okay, I got throwbacks versus Hot Chupa Time Machine. So does Hot Chupa Time Machine fall to 6-3 with throwback success? And throwbacks, he needs to win again. 4-4 is not a safe position. Then I got family discounts versus my wife is hotter. If there is another team that I think could take down me and the perfect season so far, it would be Jerry and my wife is hotter. And then the last one, this is a big one. Be huge playoff implications. New England turncoats take it on Ooh Spicy. You can see Ooh Spicy 4-4. New England turncoats 5-3. Remember, head to head's the first tiebreaker, right? So if Ooh Spicy can get the W here, puts Bruce and New England turncoats in a very tough spot. And I'm sure he definitely doesn't want to qualify for consolation this year. I'm sure he wants to make the playoffs. So huge games of the week, and hope you guys are all excited for what's to come there. All right, folks. So now we make it to tier two. And looking at tier two, again, just notice that wasn't really a ton of close games this week. If there's one game that I noticed where a guy came back to win it, it was Silver Bullets coming back on Morning Chuba to knock Morning Chuba to 3-5. That Canadian Division Two, it sure is exciting. You got three teams of 4-4 battling each other. They've won and lost against each other, so reverts the points for in the tiebreak. And right now, that's Silver Bullets. But that Canadian Division Two is going to be great to see how that unwinds, because if you look at Canadian Division One, there was like if Silver Bullets lost, if he would have lost the Morning Chuba, every team in Canadian Division One was going to make the playoffs. If that was the case. So Van Isle Kidnez, I give him credit, started 0-4. He's 4-4. You look at that American division, it's pretty sad, right? Memphis Mafia has been playing teams outside the division now. He's been losing all those games. And then when I look at American Division 2, solid division. Like Bishop Sycamore, this guy continues to find ways to win. And I got to give him all the credit in the world. If there's one team in that division that might have to be a bit worried, it's kind of next door neighbors. The points for don't match the record. And yeah, she could be in trouble moving forward if she doesn't start getting some victories. So when we go to next year, there is a prize for top scorer in the league, right? And look how tight it is in tier two. You got myself, then 13 points ahead of Unis, not much. And then you can see Unis is 0.35 points ahead of Scottish Highlanders. So the top scoring race would be thrilling here in tier two. Lowest scoring, these are the teams that I think are going to have to be worried when consolation starts. There will be one team that drops. And I'm not sure if everybody saw the post I did on terms of movement with the three retired teams this year. So, for Biscuits and Gravy, say my name, Mr. Irrelevant, that's got to make them happy that there's only one team that's going to drop out of tier two. But there will be one team that drops. So you just got to find a way to win in consolation. Looking at the playoff matchups, it has changed a bit. Again, I said, what's the spot you want to be? I think it's playing Bishop Sycamore or possibly next door neighbors, right? And that's where I fit now. I would be playing next door neighbors. Memphis Mafia would be playing Sandusky Sandmen. And a repeat of last year's Tier 3 championship. It'd be Silver Bullets versus Purple Unis. Wouldn't that be great to watch? Very sad to hear that Purple Unis had to announce their retirement. Definitely was an up-and-coming team in the LOC format, no doubt in my mind. But I understand life happens. So we just got to find 3 new owners for next year, folks. So if you do have 3 owners in your network or 3 people that obviously you think could do well in this format, I would love to hear it. Looking forward for the game of the week. I guess the real close game was Silver Bullets Morning Trouba, which I did mention. And that one could go to stat corrections because it was only a 0.78 victory for Silver Bullets. Now that I'm looking at it, I thought it was a little bit more than that. So Morning Trouba must have came back late. Game of the week candidates, I got 4 of them for tier 2. I got Jordan McLovin versus Bishop Sycamore. What's the importance? 4-4 versus 5-3. Huge playoff implication game there. Silver Bullets, Scottish Highlanders. If there's another team that could maybe take down the perfect season so far for Scottish Highlanders, I think it's Silver Bullets. So Silver Bullets have a shot there. Sandusky Sandmen versus Memphis Mafia. Does the slide continue for Memphis Mafia playing teams outside his division? Tough one against Sandusky Sandmen. And then the last one I got is Morning Trouba versus You Like That. Again, big playoff implications. Morning Trouba loses that one. You got to think Morning Trouba's chances of making the playoffs are getting to be slim to none. So must win there for Morning Trouba. All right, folks. So we get to the top tier here, and of course, it's tier 1. And yeah, lots of things happening in tier 1. Finito remained undefeated. There was a moment there throughout the week, or it looked like he might lose. Almost 2,000 points for Finito, as he definitely has the crown right now in the League of Champions with the perfect record and the high scoring team. Deuce Bombers, we saw the big trade, right? So all the storyline in the League of Champions tier 1, tons of trades, mammoth trades too, folks. You guys have really made this league interesting this year. Deuce sitting at 3-5, but the second highest scoring team. We'll talk about game of the week here in a moment, and there's a big one coming up for Deuce where I think he's either going to be a buyer or a seller after this week. And then here's another team that I think people need to start looking out for: Subotica Spartans, now the 3rd highest scoring team. He's sitting at 6-2 now this year, and Subotica Spartans has come back quite nicely this year. Now, when we look at lowest scoring team, Age Crew won, right? So I'm sure watching Age Crew win put a lot of, I guess you could say, nervousness in some teams. And we saw Ramrods buy. And obviously, Ramrod's probably buying to try to survive, being the 3rd lowest scoring team and the same record as Age Crew. Here's where things get interesting, right? So you look at Sky Blue Army's point total. We know Sky Blue Army sold. He got a hell of a deal for Rashee Rice and others. In terms of draft picks. Problem is, if Age Crew can find a way to get a couple of wins, and we're talking there's still 6 weeks left here. So if Age Crew can find a way to win 33% of his games, that could put Sky Blue Army in some trouble. Of course, BC Lions, Ramrods are too good for a name, would have to keep up as well. But it just goes to show you some of these teams might be a bit nervous near the end. You see the survival watch. It's the 4 teams that are at 2-6. Of course, BC Lions and Age Crew did retire. Looking at the divisional races, No More holding on to a slight lead over Banjo Blitz and Sky Blue Army. And again, Deuce Bombers trying to come up. 12th man in the red and white has lost 3 in a row. That's put Fighting Geese and Horror Business within striking distance of taking the division. Maple Leaf division, it is Billsy Bob's at 6-2, then 4 teams at 4-4. What a division. Of course, we've seen Mother Tucker sell as well as Green Lightning. So we'll see if those teams are going to be a factor moving forward. Likely not. And then, of course, the international division, you got Finn and Subotica. And then Klenji is still clinging to a playoff spot at 4-4. But of course, we do know that he sold some pieces as well. And that takes me to our game of the week candidates. And I got some good ones. So the international division, Finito versus Subotica Spartans. So if Subotica Spartans is for real in that international division, he has to prove it this week. And it'll have to be against Finito. The other one I got, huge one in the American, Deuce Bombers, No More. If Deuce Bombers loses this one, he goes to 3-6. I think he sells if he loses. If he wins, he's going all in, obviously, because he knows No More is the team he's got to beat in the American. I got 12th man versus Fighting Geese. So 12th man 5-3, Fighting Geese 4-4. Fighting Geese can find a way to win that one. That red and white division looks completely different. And then the last one I got, well, it's a survival game. It's Age Crew BC Lions. Here's the thing. These two teams are playing one another. Somebody's got to win, right? And if it's Age Crew, teams are going to get nervous because BC Lions has more points than Age Crew. And if that has to end up being the tiebreaker for some of these matchups, it's going to make things very interesting. Anyways, for all you Canadian fans out there, I know it was tough watching the Blue Jays lose in 18 last night. I couldn't stay up for the whole thing. So if you Eastern guys did, I give you all the credit in the world. And I just want to say, I wish you guys nothing but success for, I guess we're heading into week 9. Remember the trade deadline is week 10, I believe. So you can still make trades in week 10, but we're running out of time to make trades. So if you're looking to buy and go all in, you're looking to possibly sell, not too much time to do so. So just make sure you get your trades in. Have a wonderful week, everyone.